Yo, yo, hello and welcome. This is Nine Innings In, a podcast that reminds us that baseball is more than just a game and fandom is forever. You can find us on Sideline Sports and everywhere you get podcasts. I'm Vince Samperio, and my baseball fandom was sealed the day my parents met at a baseball field. And this is a series that will tell the stories highlighting the passion for our favorite pastime. Our guest today is a former MLB player and current baseball analyst and content creator and pretty much baseball extraordinaire. You can find him on ESPN, MLB Network, and too many places to name. Mr. Xavier Scruggs.
Hey,
X, how's it going, man?
hey, what's going on, Vince? I appreciate you having me. Excited to chop it up with you, man.
Yeah, man. So, I met X throughout my baseball journey so far here in the social media world. And, we just clicked from day one. And, always a pleasure to talk with X. So, we're going to get into it. So, this is Nine Innings In. The concept is 9 innings, 9 questions to kind of figure out where your baseball fandom came from and how you're doing it now.
hmm
So, let's start with inning number one. Who are you and what's your relationship to baseball currently?
Yeah, I'm Xavier Scruggs. Currently, I'm an MLB analyst, but I cover anywhere from college to Little League World Series. So I don't want to just limit myself on that. I'm a former major league player. I played internationally as well in Korea. I played for in Mexico. I played in Dominican. I played in Colombia. So I like to say that I'm an international player as well. I had time with the Cardinals and the Miami Marlins, so I feel like I've experienced this game in so many different ways and so many different areas. It's really shaped my perspective in life. Um, and yeah, man, that's kind of who I am. Baseball has been very, very good to me.
Yeah, appreciate that. Before we get into inning two, since you do have a little bit of international experience and the World Baseball Classic is a big thing in the baseball world, just give us a little bit of insight into how it was playing overseas and how you like to see all the different fandoms that are here in the World Baseball Classic.
Man, I think it's so special to see all the different types of energies and atmospheres because they're all different and everybody celebrates the game differently. With Dominican, it seems like such a party. Everybody's having a good time. You get in music. And I think about Korea, where I played for 2 seasons. It's such a release on kind of the work-life balance, everybody chanting and choreography as far as dancing goes. Everybody has their own songs. It's impressive to see the different types of energies. And specifically for Korea, it holds a special place in my heart because my son was actually born, my first son was born in Korea. And we felt like it was really an area where we were stripped down as far as what we were used to and put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation, me and my wife, and then just try to embrace it, enjoy it. And I feel like I learned how to do that from doing it in some other countries and realizing that baseball is just not an American pastime. It's something that's celebrated all over the world. So, man, international baseball is such an exciting thing to watch because every culture is different and we all celebrate it in such a special way.
Yeah, so can't wait to see little Scruggs in playing for Korea in about 15 years. All right, let's get into inning two. Taking it back to your childhood, how did baseball enter your life?
Yeah, baseball entered my life through my father. He always loved baseball. The Giants was his favorite team. He played, I think, all the way up until high school. Kind of taught me the game early on as a young player. So it was fun because he made it fun and showed me how to love it kind of the same way he did. And I think after I hit my first like little league home run, I was locked in. I was ready to go. It was like, okay, this is something I want to do, and be good at. And then I think around the age of 11, 12 years old, I got to go to a Padres game and got to be on the field and meet some of the players and meet Tony Gwynn, Ken Caminetti, some of the guys that really were staples then. And it really made it feel real. Like I could be a player down the line and maybe make it my profession one day.
especially Tony Gwynn being from the same area. I'm sure
Yeah,
that that played a factor. So
yeah.
yeah, so that's great to hear. Now you touched on a little bit, but getting into inning number three now. What was your favorite way to enjoy baseball growing up? Now,
Mm.
playing, watching, video games, all the above. Like, how were you enjoying baseball the most when you were growing up?
You touched on video games, man. That was one of the biggest ways for me to kind of learn the game too. Like I loved playing Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest, Nintendo 64. I had LaRussa Baseball back on. I want to say it was Nintendo 2. It might have been Sega. I'm trying to remember,
Yeah,
but I
that game was
like
ahead of its time. You actually had to warm up the pitchers back then.
yes, yes. Like so I just like I remember kind of learning about the little intricacies of the game through video games as well as playing it out on the field, and I got to learn the players. And I think that's what's cool is once you start to recognize the players you're actually seeing on TV, it means something a little bit different, and you feel like you can speak about the game a little bit more, and naturally you get drawn into the game. So I think that was definitely one of the ways. I think playing catch with my father, my brother played baseball too, so just being able to kind of be with both of them during times of bonding, right? Like it was one of those times where you just bond, you go to the field. I had friends that went to the sand lot. That was one of the ways that I really got soaked into the game, almost in an unofficial way, not in a league, but just, hey, going to the local field down the street and just going, grabbing the bats and some bases and balls and going to work, man. So it was, those were some of the ways that I really soaked it in.
Talking about that, I mean, it feels like a little bit different now than it was back then. Just picking up and going to play at the park or whatever it was. How do you feel like you'd be now, like growing up? How do you think you'd be a little bit different the way you enjoy baseball?
Yeah, I may be behind. I might have been behind because like now it feels like you got to be committed to it year round, right? And I used to play other sports, like we didn't just go to the local sandlot, like we would go to the basketball court, we would go, to the soccer field, we would go the football, like it wasn't just one thing. So it feels like now it's almost like kids are so advanced at like 6, 7 years old. Even my son right now, Zeke, my oldest one, is like impressive watching kind of where he is as compared to, where I was at the same age, and it's a complete stark difference. So I would be behind, man, and I think that's still a good thing because it gave me time to enjoy other things too.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta fall in love with it first, and when you're 7, 8 years old, you're probably not falling in love with one thing.
Right,
You got
right,
a lot of
right.
different things.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Inning four. You talked about Tony Gwynn. You talked about the Padres. So was that your team? Were those your players that you were drawn to? Anybody else or any other teams that you were kind of drawn to growing up?
Yeah, yeah. The Padres was who I was drawn to. Tony Gwynn was my favorite player. Watching the way that he would just be so precise with taking the ball the other way, low line drives all over the field, controlling the strike zone. There was like a fluidity to his game that I just enjoyed and loved. And it reminded me how special it is to be able to kind of hold the bat in the batter's box. And when somebody's got, the ball trying to find ways to get you off balance, it was fun watching him always be balanced. I also loved Gary Sheffield, man. I loved almost the opposite of a Tony Gwynn, right? Like the violent, like I'm gonna go get the baseball type swing, big leg kick, a lot of power. That was another style of hitting that I fell in love with too, because I think both have their advantages. So Gary Sheffield was one of my favorites. I still get to talk to him today. I live in Tampa. He lives in Tampa. We've had multiple conversations about hitting too. So it's special when you get to watch those guys and then ultimately still have relationships with some of them as well.
Yeah, Gary's been that guy. I mean, anybody born in the 80s, 90s grew up with that stance. Uh,
Right.
and not replicated. I mean, his son is doing it, but still hasn't been replicated. I remember I got to talk to him and ask him about it. And he's like, if
Mm.
people knew I was doing it, they'd all be doing it. And, I don't think everyone could do it. His hands are probably faster than most,
No,
but
no, definitely not.
but All right, let's move on to inning five. And you talked about the first home run got you locked in. Was that the moment you realized you were going to be a forever fan of baseball?
Yeah, I think that had to be definitely one of the moments. I think another moment, I was on the, I think 11 and 12-year-old all-star team for my little league. And I remember I was one of the youngest kids on the field. And I remember hitting a ball over the left field wall early in the tournament. And I heard my dad yell in the stands, like, he's only 10 2, or he's only 11, whatever the age was. And it kind of made me think about, well, if I'm one of the younger ones that can perform at a high level, like maybe this is something that I can consider myself continuing to get better at, and having an advantage being younger in a sense and already being better than some of the other kids. So I think that's one of the things that kind of opened my eyes, was like, okay. And then another thing is just like playing around with some really good talent. I played with Brett Bochy, Bruce Bochy's son, who ended up making it to the major leagues. I played with a guy by the name of Thomas Neal, who ended up making it to the major leagues. We were on the same travel team. And I played with Mike Leake, who was on the same travel team with those guys too, who, when you have like four major leaguers on one little league team, you recognize what talent looks like before you even realize it. And those things kind of breed competition within little league and travel ball, and you just want to outdo each other. And I think that was something that really helped me fall in love with, kind of wanting to get to the next levels.
And you said around 11, 12 is when you noticed that. Is that kind of when, were you already locked into just baseball at that point? Or when did you like fully lock into, okay, I'm baseball strictly? Or did you ever
Yeah.
do that?
No, I was still playing other sports. I was playing basketball and football up until my junior year of high school. I actually loved basketball more, but I think once you get to high school, you start to realize kind of where your lane is at least if you're playing multiple sports. And I think my lane was chosen for me because it's like I loved baseball, but also I was starting to get more opportunities as far as colleges looking at me. And the main goal for me was to be able to go to college and get a scholarship. And I saw both of my parents were 4-year university graduates, both got their, bachelor's degree. And that was something that really always attracted me. My parents would take me back to their school. They went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. They would take me back to their school all the time. And I would get to visit the campus and kind of see what, college lifestyle kind of looked like. And that was something that was attractive to me. So once I started getting kind of those offers and getting those letters, like that was, okay, this looks like this is the right path for me. And then I got drafted out of high school too. So it was like, okay, there's an opportunity to go professional if I do what I need to do after this time.
And you hear some guys in the majors or that have made it talk about, they like playing, but maybe not watching baseball. Throughout this whole time, were you still like into baseball in terms of like watching and paying attention and knowing what's going on?
Yeah, I think I was always a lover of watching the game. Just because, like I told you, at a young age, I fell in love with the players and the stories. And I think the more I can learn about that was going to be better because the local broadcasters are going to tell those stories. So I loved watching the game. I think another thing too was like I love the little nuances of what to do as a fielder. Where's the left fielder backing up on this play? What's going on with this double cut? Where are guys moving around? There's always somewhere to go to. That was what I was always attracted to as well, as how the game kind of moved in that fluidity aspect of things, and what hitters, when they're hitting, what are they trying to attack? So I don't think you get any better, by not watching those little details of the game.
Yeah, so that's probably why you do what you do now.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. Yeah, that's why I love talking about it now.
yeah, exactly. Okay, let's get into inning number six and move kind of forward into now. How does baseball fit into your identity now? And how has your relationship with the game changed, if it has?
Yeah, I think if anything, it's just I think it's a level of competition now for me outside of playing, because playing is competition, and then outside of it now as an analyst, as a broadcaster, like I'm competing against myself to get as much information and maybe competing against other analysts and broadcasters to get as much information as possible that I can use that can give people a different perspective. I mentioned I love the stories. Like I'm always into diving into different articles, no matter what the platform might be, and just trying to find those little things that other people aren't finding. And so that's something that I kind of see that's a little bit different. And then also how the space is evolving. I find myself really involved on the technology side of things. As that kind of has its wave in the whole world, but how is it affecting and impacting baseball? That's something that's fascinating me right now. And how can I communicate that to an audience as well? So I think those are the things that I find myself almost transitioning in outside of playing. And it's been a lot of fun for me. I think that's one of the things I didn't realize is how much fun it would be talking about baseball, creating content about baseball, having a platform in which I can talk about baseball and many other things. So I'm sure you feel the same way at times. Just like it's a platform that you really can use in so many different ways, and I love taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I talked about this with my first guest, Dan, and kind of the baseball world. I feel is a little different than some other sports where we all want baseball to win. So the
Right.
baseball community is very strong, and we all have our different lanes, but we're all at the end of the day want baseball to succeed and be that
Yes.
top sport. So,
Yes.
but kind of on that point of view, you're in a good spot now with where you're at and all that, but the transition from playing to where you're at now, was it tough? How'd you get here? Yeah, just kind of take us through that.
Yeah, it wasn't easy by any means, but I would say my road was simplified a little bit because when I was considering not playing, which was 2020, the baseball world stopped. And Korean baseball was still going on. So I was sitting at home. I had just finished a season playing in Mexico, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's next? I wasn't really getting too many calls. I was considering going back to Mexico. I really wanted to play, back in the States. I wanted to try to get back to Major League Baseball. But the world stopped and Korean baseball was still being broadcasted actually by ESPN. And ESPN asked me to come on and talk about my experiences that I had playing in Korea. I did that for about 10 minutes. And after that first time talking about, my experiences in Korean baseball, it was kind of like, man, I liked doing that. Like, how do I get more opportunities to do that? And ESPN actually, gave me a couple more opportunities to talk about my experiences. Come on at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning because of the time difference. And I found myself falling in love with it. Tried to find more opportunities to talk about baseball. That came through radio, Sirius XM, MLB Network Radio, which I still do today. Podcasting. I had a podcast picked up by Major League Baseball in 2021, so the very next year. So I found myself trying to find all the outlets to help me propel on the media side of the sport. And it really allowed me to kind of change my perspective as, okay, if I'm not playing anymore, it seems like God has directed me into a different area in life that I can still take advantage of. And man, I just ran with it. And I still find myself like, just excited about running with it today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a quick turnaround, so I'm sure the joy is still there. Funnily enough, you played for NC Dinos, and that was the team I picked when that was the only baseball going on. And I got to pick a team, see what happened. They
That was
ended up winning
funny.
that year, so it worked out.
Yeah, I know, man. It was weird, just that whole situation. But I was grateful because I was able to give a lot of perspective on the team, a lot of the players who I had just recently played against. I played there in 2017, 2018. So I still knew a lot of the players. And I think that's what gave me an advantage to kind of break things down too.
Yeah, that worked out. All right, let's go to inning number 7, and it's one baseball take that you stand by, a hill that you're willing to
Mm,
die on.
dang. I think it might be evident of the World Baseball Classic. I think that's the best form of competition that our baseball has right now. I really do. And what it is, and even Julio Rodriguez said this last night, is like, he said he would love to win a World Series for the Seattle Mariners, but like he thinks it's almost bigger to win a World Baseball Classic championship. And I think like the energy and the atmosphere that we're seeing on a daily basis, right? Like we won't see that in baseball on a daily basis, and the ability for guys to almost let their hair down, not feel like they have to be buttoned up. The celebrations are evident of that. The atmosphere on all stages, not just like Dominican. We saw it in Asia with Japan, in the Tokyo Dome. We see it in Puerto Rico in their pool play. There's something about representing your country that takes it to another level, and I think that's the best form of baseball that we get to see from a competition standpoint.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fight you on that one. I've been to a game, at least one game in almost every classic so far, and they've been, ever since the beginning, it's been fun. But obviously now that everyone's kind of locked into it, it's
Yeah.
definitely a different experience. So, all right, inning number 8. When baseball is at its best for you, what does that look like?
When baseball is at its best, I think it looks like kind of what we're getting from a media standpoint with the WBC. I think it looks like all creators, honing in on their opinions, their perspectives of baseball. And I think it's special because we're not just hearing it from one platform. It's not just like an MLB Network, who I work for and I love, but hearing so many different perspectives. And I think that's what makes like the other sports special too. And like football and basketball is like there's so many voices. And I think we truly need more voices in baseball to elevate the game. I think it looks like the brands, when baseball is at its, I think it looks like the brands promoting the game as much as possible. I posted a video about New Balance maybe a couple weeks ago. They did a whole thing with Francisco Lindor in Australia, swapping sports with a cricket player, and just following him around, and we get to learn more about the player. I think the brands, they don't have the responsibility, but they're just as important in growing the game as anybody else, because they already have the audience. They already have the people that are in love with their brand. So they have the platform to really allow us to dive in more. Like the Eastons of the world, the Franklins of the world, the Nikes, the Adidases, those brands become so much more important. So I think however we can elevate the game, and I think we're doing it on a large scale right now for the WBC.
Yeah, I mean, it's been baseball's obviously always kind of been a little bit more old school, but I think there's been a big boom in the last few years that we've seen where, yeah, like you recognize, people are recognizing that these players, have personalities, have different things they bring out. They're not just baseball players, but they have a lot of different things that,
Right.
and obviously, New Balance with a guy like Shohei Ohtani, a little bit different, where it doesn't matter
Yes.
what he does, it's going to be big. But with a guy like Lindor, yeah, maybe you do have to show that personality because his nickname's Mr. Smiles for a reason.
Right.
You want to show why. So
Exactly.
all right, let's get to the last inning here, and this is an easy one. If you had to pitch baseball to a non-fan, what's your pitch?
If I had to pitch baseball to a non-fan, hey, that's good. That's an interesting one. I think just kind of pitching this idea of so many different cultures, so many different backgrounds of players coming together for one goal outside, where you're enjoying the sun, where you're enjoying 30,000 to 40,000, 50,000 fans in the stands. But there's intricacies of the game that it really takes someone smart to understand. And I think seeing those things and seeing the way that the game can be both fast paced, right, as we have a pitch timer now, but also you can slowly soak in the game as well. And almost the anticipation of on your seat when somebody's stealing a base, So you see the speed aspect of things, slowly anticipating the crack of the bat for a home run, power, somebody making a great throw from right field, 300 feet all the way to home. So you get to see the defensive side of things, the double plays, like just the little things within the game on an outside setting in which you're getting international play is really something special to me.
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel like I've gotten non-fans to be into baseball, and it's just like, look, you see it for face value, but this is what I see, and this is a little bit different aspect of it, and I think
Hmm.
people can find that in different sports a little bit easier, maybe because basketball, the object of the game is put the ball in the hoop, and you don't
Right,
necessarily need to know every single rule to kind of know that. Football maybe a little bit different, but baseball it's a lot different. Every pitch is something in its own world, and every pitch and every sign and everything else kind of all leads up
right.
to what ends up being the game, and it's fun to kind of build it that way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think um, that's where it takes a different type of person to love baseball, because the action is not going to be the same as other sports. And you almost have to appreciate more of the mental side of the game than anything.
Yeah. All right. Some games don't end with 9 innings, so we're gonna head into extra innings. This one's a little more of a rapid fire. So,
Cool.
your first baseball heartbreak.
First baseball heartbreak, probably just as a fan in 1998. The San Diego Padres made it to the World Series. I was 12 years old. I was probably, like I mentioned multiple times, like that's when I was probably most locked in. Like, okay, this is something I want to play for a long time. And my favorite team getting to the World Series, playing against the Yankees, and it was just they just got beat down. Like they got swept. I'm seeing the Yankees celebrate and jumping all over each other, guys crying, emotional. And I'm seeing my team, walk into the clubhouse, heads down, just like defeated. And I'm like, man, this season that seemed like such a high, ultimately got knocked down. But it was still at the same time something that made me like, when I saw the Yankees celebrating, I was like, as much as a heartbreak as it was, I looked at those guys and how emotional they were, and I was like, damn, baseball means something to those guys. Like I haven't even seen my own father cry like that. So like I can tell that this really impacts them, and I want to do something on a large scale like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, your team losing will definitely get you.
Yeah.
Fun fact: I was at one of those games because my mom's a Padre fan. So,
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
wild.
so I was 7 years old. So yeah.
That's cool.
All right, next one. Flipping it a little bit. Your favorite baseball moment.
My favorite baseball moment, probably hitting my first home run in the major leagues. The moment was big because it kind of validated all the power and all the home runs that I had up to that moment. It felt like power was always kind of a big part of my game. And then when I got to the major leagues, it took me forever, I feel like, to hit a home run. So that home run meant a lot. Not to mention Ichiro was standing on second base when I hit it. I came home, dapped him up. Barry Bonds was my hitting coach. So immediately get a hug from him when I come into the dugout. Don Mattingly was my manager. So there was a lot of like stars and huge names within the game just that were a part of that moment for me. And it kind of stamped, I feel like, all the work that I put in leading up to that moment too.
You hear guys always say they blacked out rounding the bases. Is that how you feel, or do you remember rounding the bases?
I didn't black out. I remember rounding the bases, but I remember being on cloud nine. I remember like everything felt like you're floating. Um, there was at that time there was going to be no bigger moment that I had ever had previous to that. So you try to soak it in, but at the same time, you want to be like, yo, I want to do that again. I want to duplicate that. I want to replicate that. So it's like you try to stay in the moment, but it's really hard to just have an out of body experience.
Yeah, true. All right, next one. The most superstitious thing you've done for baseball.
The most super. I wasn't extremely superstitious. I think one of the things that I've mentioned before is like you'll find guys be in the in the showers, and I would take the same shower. We had like 10 shower heads. I would take the same one if I was balling out. That would be the one I would use that day, and make sure that that was hopefully going to give me extra luck going into the next game.
That's a cleaner version of wearing the same gear that some
Yeah,
people.
yeah. But you got to kick somebody else out of the shower if they're using your shower heads. Like, hey, let me use this one real quick. Like, you know.
True. You had a lot, but what's one thing that's still on your baseball bucket list?
Baseball bucket list. Baseball bucket list. That's good. I think being able to go to a Game 7 World Series, like that would be like the tops, right? Like you get to feel that energy of a Game 7. I got to go to a WBC last WBC, so I feel like maybe like a all or nothing Game 7 World Series would be kind of top the top.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that one. All right, last one. You're gonna go watch a game. You get to pick one family member, one baseball player, and one celebrity. Who are you
Wow.
taking?
Okay, I would pick Tony Gwynn as the baseball player, as he was my favorite player. One celebrity, maybe Denzel Washington.
Okay.
I feel like he's so cerebral. I love listening to him talk. Obviously, love him as an actor. I've never been really starstruck, but like I saw him one time in the Dodgers suite, and I was like, oh, that's Denzel Washington. Like that was the one person I was starstruck by. So Denzel, Tony Gwynn, the family member would be probably my son now, Zeke. He loves baseball. I'm taking him to the WBC Sunday. So like I'm starting to enjoy those conversations with him. So Zeke would go with me. Did you say one other one?
No, that's it. That's
Okay, yeah,
perfect.
that's it. So it'd be me, Denzel, my son, and then ultimately Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, that's a strong quartet right there. All right, that's it for extra innings, and that's gonna do it for 9 innings in. But before we get out of here, X, let the people know where they can find you and how they can find you and everywhere you're at.
Yeah, you can find me my socials. I try to post everything on the socials. Xavier Scruggs. And that's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, all of those things. And also in the morning, the leadoff spot on MLB Network at 9 o'clock. So tap in with me. I love kind of conversing and have conversation with other people, even if it's not to do with baseball. Yeah, tap in with me.
Yeah, check him out. X is like I said, not just baseball, but if you like baseball, definitely someone to tap into. Remember, you can find 9 innings in on Sideline Sports or wherever you get podcasts. I'm Vince Ampere. You can find me on social media at Vincents91. Thanks for sticking around for 9 innings. We'll catch you next time.